Hello, today we're going to be talking about collage and painting, and we're going to get you caught up with the rest of the school since you missed class last week because of whatever, the day off or whatever. So, okay, collage. The Collage Center, you've probably noticed, it's underneath the cabinet and it's all open in the front. And collage is about cutting and gluing and making art that's made out of paper that you're cutting and putting together in different ways. So in the Collage Center, obviously we need to have scissors and other cutting tools. There's regular scissors and there's silly scissors. Any kind of scissors you're using, make sure you're safe with them. When you're walking around, you're holding them like this so that they don't bite anybody or bite you with their scary little mouths. Do not walk around with the scissors cutting like this while you're walking or even while you're standing up, because that's just a terrible idea. There's also hole punches, which are almost like a cutting tool, and you can use these to make holes or to make the little dots that come out of them. When you cut stuff up, then you're going to be gluing stuff together. So there are three kinds of glue that we have here. This one is liquid glue in a little cup, and this is really good for spreading over large areas. And you always use one of these brushes that has the green stripe on the bottom. These are for glue. Do not use any other paintbrush, and you can just kind of paint it on stuff that you're trying to glue together. When you're done with this brush, it goes into the sink in a little tub of water because it needs to soak. The second kind of glue we have is in a bottle. This is the same kind of glue, but it's a little bit thicker. So this kind of glue is really good for small areas. You unscrew the top, snap it on the side so it doesn't get lost, and then you can do dots or like a little strip of glue around the edge of a shape. Make sure you close it up when you're done. Third kind of glue is a glue stick. This is the worst kind of glue because it's not a very strong glue. So this is basically good for like trying stuff out and playing and practicing, but not really stuff you want to keep because it just doesn't stay for the long run. Any kind of glue that you're using, you need to have a glue mat underneath to protect your work surface. So this is just old laminated stuff that we don't need anymore, and just it's going to keep things clean. This is not what you make your art, like you're not sticking stuff to this. This is just a protector for the table. So you always need one of those. In the collage station, there's also different kinds of paper that you can cut up. So there's a bin of warm colors like fire colors. There's a bin of cool colors like water kind of colors. There's neutral colors. Neutral means black, white, and gray, like nothing colors. There's fancy paper that's like shiny stuff or mixed up colors or whatever. And there are some old magazines that you can cut up. This is the only stuff you can cut up that's a magazine or a book, is if it's in the Collage Center. Normally when you're making a collage, you need a piece of base paper, and this is a thicker paper that you glue stuff onto, and it's thicker because it can hold the glue and the wetness of the glue without getting super soggy. Today we're doing something a little different, which I'll explain in a second. We also have paint. So we have three main kinds of paint. We have the tempera cakes, and this is what you get, like a lot of times the little kids use this because it's easy to use, but this is still a good kind of paint. And tempera cakes, you need to have water. You always need water for any kind of paint so you can wash your brush. And obviously you need some kind of brush. So all the brushes this year, I spent a lot of time labeling these. And so when you see a brush, you'll see that the can is labeled with the same kind of tape on the handle and on the can. So they always go back where you got them from. So don't get them mixed up, because if people want a specific brush, it'll make it easier for them to find it. So with these tempera cakes, they don't come with a palette, so you have to get your own palette. You can either get one of the little ones with the little dents in it that I forgot to pick up, but those are by the sink in the painting center, or you can get one of these little trays, it doesn't matter. And then you get some water on your brush. You swirl your wet brush around in the paint to kind of wake it up. And then I always say, for this kind of paint and for watercolor, I always say move it over into your palette, because then you can make sure it's the right thickness and the right darkness, and you can mix it with other colors if you want to. And then you'll be able to paint it onto your paper. These paper mats are a really good thing to have underneath whatever you're painting, because then you can go right off the edge, not have to clean the table. And also when you go to the drying rack, it's much easier to slide this into the drying rack rather than this small piece of paper that's probably going to be kind of floppy. So that's tempera cakes. I'm washing my brush by tapping it in the bottom of the container and then wiping it gently on the side. My next kind of paint is watercolor. This comes with its own palette, which is really handy. So again, just like the tempera cakes, I can swirl my brush in here and then move it over. That is not what I expected. This paint's not super clean. If you find a paint thingy that's not clean, you can use your brush to kind of clean it off, and then I'm just cleaning my brush after I swirl it around instead of putting it in the palette. I actually don't mind that weird dark blue, so I'm just going to use it. Especially with watercolor paint, you really need to move it over into the palette because watercolor paint is really, really easily meltable, and if you leave the water sitting in that paint, it's going to just melt it away and it's going to ruin it. And if at any point your brush is too wet, there are sponges that you can dry it off on, and that's a really good thing to have just with you while you're painting. The third kind of paint is liquid tempera, and so that's the stuff that's in these little muffin tins, and you've got the primary colors plus black and white, so you can mix any kind of color you want. You have lots of different options. And with these, what I'd like you to do is keep these all together in the tin. When you're using it, you can put the covers in the little extra little cup here, but don't take this, don't be like, I only need yellow, take this, because they get mixed up and then it's wicked annoying. With these, you're gonna use a very clean and dried off on your sponge paintbrush, and then you're gonna scoop a little bit out into a palette. You can mix it if you want to. If I were going to mix this, I would wash this brush in my water, tap, 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 wipe it on the side to get the extra water, and then dry it off. Make sure it's nice and clean. Look at it with your eyes to make sure that it's nice and clean before you dunk it into another cup. Because the cleaner we keep these cups, the less annoying your life is going to be, and that's important to me. So now I'm going to take a little bit of blue with my clean paintbrush, and I can mix up some green paint. You'll notice that every kind of paint has some different characteristics. They act different, they have different effects, and that's something I'd like you to kind of discover on your own and think about what's good for you to use. A lot of people really like tempera though, because it has awesome colors. Okay, so when you're done your painting or your, well today actually, forget what I was saying. Today what we're doing is just a little exploration. So this is collage and painting bingo. You're going to get 5 in a row in any direction, just like regular bingo, and you can put the thing right on here that it's asking you to do. So liquid glue in a cup, you can just glue something on here using that liquid glue in a cup that you used with the little glue brush. And whatever it's asking you, just put it right on here. When you've got bingo, put your name and your class code on the top. Your class code is the letter and the number that's on the back of your class folder that's on your home base. And your class code is B2. B is for blue, 2 is for, I don't remember why you're 2, but you are, so deal with it. And then this probably needs to go on the drying rack. When you're done, you can have some free choice time if you've got a little time left. Everything needs to be 100% cleaned up. Brushes need to be rinsed off really well. If the brush is extra disgusting, wash it in the sink with your hand, swish it under some water, and then it will go back in the correct container with the hair pointing up to keep them nice and working well. And if you have one of these, you need to rinse it out. If you have this that's messy, you need to wipe it out with the sponge, and that's probably good enough. Don't run these underwater because then this paint will melt and get destroyed. Basically, get everything back to the way it was, and that's awesome. Okay, thank you. We'll have a great day. It'll be awesome. Goodbye.